Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire podcast.
Yay!
I am Ashley.
And I'm Abby.
And how are you today?
You know what? It's still so beautifully sunny and summery, and I'm so excited. It's supposed to be like over, I think it was almost 100 degrees tomorrow, and it's so hot, and they're so worried about forest fires and stuff that we're having mandatory power outages. So that's fun.
Have fun with that.
I know. And I'm also sitting in a super squeaky chair, so I apologize.
That's going to be fun to edit.
Instead of the guinea, I'm in a different room today. Instead of the guinea pigs squeaking at you, my chair will be squeaking at you. How have you been?
I've been good. Lizzie finally started school, so I now have some freedom.
I know. Well, 2 of my kids are in school right now. Woo!
Just like, oh yeah, I have time to myself again.
Yeah.
What do I do? What do I do first?
And then you can't think of anything to do, and then all your time runs out, and you have to go get her. That's what happens to me.
Exactly. So I hope you guys all enjoyed our surprise bonus episode last week with our honorary brother of the Shire, Albert.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. So much fun.
Sorry for all the random tangents we went on.
I know. And we only got through 2 minutes of the actual show episode.
Hey, we didn't give any spoilers.
No spoilers, true. Other than there's a knife. Yes. And they wear white. Our thoughts on just that first.
It's all good.
It's all good. So while I would love to just talk about the new show, I feel like we really need to catch up on where we are in the Silmarillion.
Yes,
because
let's just get into it. I'm ready.
There's events that are in the show that literally we were going to talk about in the next episode, and I was like, if only our timing had been better.
Now I just have a visual of what it would look like in my head.
Yeah. Okay. So when we last left you, the two trees were destroyed, unfortunately. Yavanna, they were slurped up. Yavanna had asked Feanor if she could have one of his Silmarils to, quote, recall life to the trees. And he didn't really want to, even though it was Yavanna's trees that actually gave the Silmarils their light, he basically said that he couldn't possibly make them again and that it would kill him to give them away.
Wow.
A little bit of a drama queen, kind of like his mom, just taking everything a bit too far. I'm so exhausted after this baby. I'm just going to die.
Yeah.
Live on caffeine like the rest of us, Muriel.
Seriously.
So, we discussed both sides of the argument of whether or not he should have given the Silmaril, a Silmaril. It doesn't really specify. She asks for one, but, who knows if just one would have done it. But, would it... Yeah. Should he have given her the Silmaril or not? Maybe the Valar didn't actually need the trees, so them asking for the Silmarils was a bit unfair. Or maybe they did need the light of the trees to give light to the crops, for food and such for the elves. So Feanor maybe was being selfish for not sharing. We'll never know.
I know. We weren't there,
We weren't there. And, Feanor also keeps thinking about the mistrust he feels towards the Valar, mainly because Melkor planted the idea in his brain. So he ultimately told the Valar, no, I'd rather not give you my precious jewels. But then it ends up not mattering, because unfortunately, while everyone was, dealing with the aftermath in Valinor, Melkor and Ungoliant went to Feanor's new home where he was living during his quote-unquote banishment
How did they
where
get
his
there so
son.
fast?
I don't know how fast spiders move, but the spiders in the Hobbit movie move pretty fast.
I thought they were banished like really far away, but that just makes
I thought so too, but maps are hard to visualize how far things are.
yeah.
Plus, she was all coked out basically from all the
Yeah.
light she'd been.
Morgoth's just riding her like, yeah, let's do this.
I think that's probably like the most fun he's ever had in his life. So he was serving his banishment there. His sons and his father, Finwë, had followed him there to his new home called Formenos. And Melkor and Ungoliant went there, sacked Formenos, killed Finwë, Feanor's father, stole all of their jewels that they had kind of hoarded, and stole the Silmarils.
Okay, but Feanor's wife and kids are okay, right?
Yes. It doesn't say if, I hate her name, Nerdanel, went, I'm sorry, she needs a prettier name, went to Formenos. It just says the sons went there. So as far as we know, the sons are...
Art. Nerdanel.
Nope, doesn't help.
Okay.
It's a little better, but still, I want her to have a prettier name for having to, yeah. Anyways, so as far as we know, the sons are okay. It was just Finwë who ultimately died, unfortunately. And, yeah, very sad. Feanor and his father were quite close, especially, growing up without a mom. So Feanor's very upset. He blames Manwë for making him come to Valinor when he could have been at Formenos and maybe saved his father. And
grief takes on a bunch of different ways.
It does.
Blaming, anger,
Oh, it comes out in more ways than you know, Abby. Just you wait. No. So then we left Melkor. He was escaping with Ungoliant with the Silmarils, but he was trying to get rid of her over the area we call the Helcarax. It's
cool.
That connecting land between Aman and Middle Earth that is mainly just ice. She mainly caught on that he was trying to ditch her, demanded he fulfill his promise of more light/food. I don't know what she considers it. Food or drink. I don't know. Sustenance. She eats all the jewels he has, but he holds on to the Silmarils, which eventually gives him a permanent burn on his hand. Wow. Because remember when they were made, Varda made it so that if any evil thing holds the Silmarils, it would burn them.
Wow. Is it like in Home Alone when he puts his hand on the doorknob?
I didn't think of that, but now I can't stop thinking about it. Or in Indiana Jones when he's trying to grab the medallion.
Yeah. Ah! And now he has a map on his hand.
He has a map on. So Ungoliant isn't happy that he is holding back the Silmarils from her. And so she attacks him, starts wrapping him up in her dark webs. Melkor screams so loud and so full of terror that this place that they're in is forever called Lamoth, or the Great Echo.
Wow.
And the scream actually reaches his old fortress in Angband, where some Balrogs managed to be hiding, waiting for his return. So the Balrogs save Melkor from Ungoliant. Ungoliant runs away to her new Valley of Dreadful Death, where she mated with other spiders that Melkor had created, ate them, and then eventually becomes so hungry she eats herself.
Oh gosh. What a way to go.
Happy ending.
What a way to go.
Melkor makes himself at home in his old fortress, starts reuniting the old gang of orcs and other creatures, raises some scary-looking mountain peaks over his fortress called Thangorodrim, or Mountains of Oppression.
Dang.
Makes himself an iron crown for the Silmarils, and he restarts his evil rule from his throne as self-proclaimed king of the world.
So, in Lord of the Rings, and spoiler for the new show, they kind of do like flashes of Morgoth in the new show, and he looks like how Sauron looks in the Lord of the Rings movies, like that like pointy helm thing. Is so in my head, is that what he made for the Silmarils?
Okay, so it does come across that way, but the only time we see Melkor and Morgoth in the show is that shadow over the trees. We don't actually see him. The person you're talking about is Sauron. Yeah. That's what I imagine it looked like. And I mean, if we're talking about the show, I did like the story that Celebrimbor. Celebrimbor talked about Melkor after he stole the Silmarils. We knew he looked at them and he just was mesmerized by them. And then he, started to cry, I guess, because of their beauty or something. And then he saw his own evil and then he couldn't look at them anymore, which makes sense that he would make an iron crown, because if they're on his head, he couldn't see them.
Yeah.
He couldn't look into them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Smart.
So I was like, connection. So, it does talk about, and I talked about it last week, is that the Silmarils were actually pretty heavy. And he does complain that the iron crown that he made for them, made him really tired and was a constant weariness to him, but he never took it off.
It's like wearing Mickey Mouse ears at Disneyland.
Yes. Have to keep them on. There was a few chapters ago in the book that Tolkien went over some family trees, and I personally felt like it was kind of out of place in the storyline. But in this next part of the story, we were going to meet some of these characters. So I thought I would lay out this family tree before we start the story, and also kind of review some things that are going to be important for this part. Not too far back, but just the highlights that you'll need to know.
Give me the highlights. What is it? Okay. From ESPN?
The highlight reel.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our three main elf groups that we've mainly dealt with so far. The Vanyar. The leader is Ingwe. Think golden hair.
They made it all the way to Valinor.
They made it to Valinor. They like to hang out with the Valar and Valinor, and they just are kind of
posh.
Yes. Then we have the Noldor, whose leader, unfortunately, was Finwë. Think more brown hair. And they live on Tirion, on the frickin' Tuna Hill.
Tuna.
Then there was the Teleri, whose leader is Olwe. Think more silver gray hair. They live in Alqualande, and they took the majority of their journey to Valinor by that island ferry boat in the sea.
Oh yeah, they're more the beach vibes.
Yes, very much so. So they like to stay by the water.
Likes the beach.
So Finwë, who we already met, unfortunately has just died. R.I.P. Died trying to defend his precious jewels for his son and defend his grandchildren. So sad. He was the king of the Noldor, and he had 3 sons. He was married to Muriel first, who basically died of exhaustion after giving birth to Feanor. Then he got remarried to Indis, who is one of the Vanyar, the posh Valar-liking people.
Okay.
So his first son is Feanor, who we've met. His mom was Muriel, He was, quote, the mightiest in skill of word and of hand. It describes him here as being smarter than his brothers. His spirit burned as a flame. And Feanor had 7 sons.
Dang.
And unfortunately, they all sound kind of similar to each other. So,
of course.
Totally. And we'll get to know them a bit more. But this is just how they're described in this one little section. So there's Maedhros, the tall, Maglor, the mighty singer, whose voice was heard far over land and sea.
Oh man, if someone doesn't have a band that's called that, that would be amazing. Like a Viking, hard metal band. Oh man, that'd be so cool. Anyway.
Caligorm.
Okay.
Yeah. The fair. Great hunter.
Okay. He got the fair, but he has that name? Come on.
Yeah, I know. Became good friends with Arome. Yeah. Curanthir, the dark. Curufin,
the goth
the crafty. The crafty. And yes, first you want to think crafty like Trixie, but then I can't help but think of him having like a little cricket shop.
Yeah. He's got yarn,
DIY.
He's got glitter, he's got popsicle sticks, glue.
And then there are 2 twins, Amrod and Amras. They were alike in mood and face, and they were great hunters.
Sorry. I know you said hunters, but for some reason I heard huggers. I'm like, aw.
They were great huggers.
Yeah.
Maybe they were. We don't know.
Yes. That's how they hunted. They hugged them. They hugged it to death.
Oh, gosh. So back to Finwë, the dad of everyone that we're talking about right now. His other son was Fingolfin. His mother was Indis of the Vanyar. So he's the second born and definitely has that
Feanor's half brother.
Correct. And he definitely has that like younger sibling. I just want to be like you. I just want, to follow in your footsteps, and he just wants to be liked. He is described as the strongest. I'm like, you already described everyone else as the strongest. What do you? Yeah. The most steadfast, the most valiant. And he had 2 sons and 1 daughter. These names. Fingon.
Okay.
Turgon.
Tarragon. Okay.
Yes. They don't really get descriptions, but I love that they describe the daughter. Her name is Eredhel.
Arethel or Eretel?
It's Aredhel. Eredhel.
Eredhel.
Yeah. She's called Eredhel the White, a.k.a. the White Lady of the Noldor. She was called the White because she had a very fair complexion and dark hair. She was the youngest out of the siblings. She was tall. She was strong. She loved to ride and hunt, especially with the sons of Feanor, which were technically her cousins. Yeah. But they make it very clear that she wasn't like romantically in love with any of them. And of course, he lists her signature colors. Of course, which were silver and white, which I have to say, if you like to ride and hunt, those aren't staying silver and white for long, unless you were an elf in Valinor.
Elven magic.
Elven magic. The third son of Finwë, Feanor's other half-brother, is Finarfin, whose mother was also Indis of the Vanyar. It lists him as the fairest, but it doesn't, doesn't explain whether they mean like his complexion or hair or like his judgment. Like it just says the fairest.
What if he is the fairest?
The fairest of them
both.
all.
He's both. He's both beautiful
maybe.
and amazing.
In like fan art that I've seen, Feanor, of course, is like really dark haired. And Fingolfin is also dark haired, but in the fan art, Finarfin looks more Vanyar golden hair. I'm not sure if that's it. He's not described that way anywhere that I saw, but maybe that's also what they mean. And later, I feel like he definitely does take on more of the Vanyar mentality, personality. But we'll find that out later, but just kind of keep that in mind.
Okay.
He also has he's also the most wise of heart. Like
so maybe that is the fairest, he's
maybe,
fair.
He had 4 sons and 1 daughter, which I very much relate to.
Yeah.
The youngest of 5 siblings with 4 older brothers. I feel that. So his oldest is Finrod the Faithful, who we met in the show.
Oh, spoilers.
Spoilers, sorry. What are these names? Orodreth, Angrod.
Okay.
Aegnor.
Okay.
And all 4 of these brothers treated the sons of Fingolfin, Fingon, and Turgon like brothers. I mean, they're technically cousins, but they were really close.
Yeah.
And then the girl is Galadriel, as we know.
Oh, so her uncle was Feanor.
Correct.
Okay.
And she is described as most beautiful of all the house of Finwë, the king of the Noldor. Her hair was lit with gold, as though it had caught in a mesh the radiance of Laurelin, which was the golden tree.
Ooh.
Which I didn't like. So when I'm first trying to get my head around this family tree, I was like, wait, Galadriel's is Noldor? I thought the Noldor all had dark hair, but then you have to remember that her dad's mother was Vanyar.
Oh,
not Noldor.
So
yeah.
But she was half posh.
Yes.
She was half Beverly Hills.
Yes. Hollywood elite is what we used to call them.
Yeah.
Okay. So got all that?
Yes.
Okay. So
I don't remember the names. Do not quiz me on that. I don't.
That is totally fine. I try and just kind of, here are their names. I might reference them later, but I will try not to because it is confusing. So after it was known that the Silmarils were gone and that there was no hope of reviving the 2 trees, everyone was understandably pretty sad. And the Noldor, who were, all at Valinor for that big feast that, was there, they all slowly made their way back home to Tirion. Then, all of a sudden, Feanor comes to Tirion and he calls a town meeting. Technically,
the authority.
Technically he should still be banished. So him coming to Tirion is technically like a parole violation.
Oh,
so
no.
he is straight up rebelling against the Valar at this point. So all the Noldor are at this town meeting, and then Feanor begins to speak. Quote, Feanor was a master of words, and his tongue had great power over hearts when he would use it. And that night, he made a speech before the Noldor, which they ever remembered. Fierce and fell were his words, and filled with anger and pride. In hearing them, the Noldor were stirred to madness.
What?
Yeah. So he is really good at riling these people up.
Oh.
He is just stirring the pot. He is, pumping them up. Exactly. He is that like quarterback that's like pumping up his like the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So in his speech, he has decided
we're gonna win.
Yes. So in his speech, he has decided to claim the kingship of the Noldor and to ignore everything that the Valar had decreed. So he's ignoring his banishment. He's ignoring the fact that Fingolfin technically was king because he was in banishment. Finwë was gone. Fingolfin had taken over the kingship just because he was next in line. Yeah. So no, he's now king. He's declared it, and he's going to ignore everything that the Valar have said. He also starts questioning why they should be serving the Valar when they couldn't even protect themselves from their enemy, especially an enemy who is actually one of their kin, one of their family. Technically, Melkor, Manwë, they're all brothers and sisters. And so he's like, why should we be following them? They can't even protect themselves.
Yeah.
Quote,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Valid point. He's all got valid points. Quote, vengeance calls me hence. But even were it otherwise, I would not dwell longer in the same land with the kin of my father's slayer and of the thief of my treasure. Yet I am not the only valiant in this valiant people. And have ye not all lost your king? And what else have ye not lost? Cooped here in a narrow land between the mountains and the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is giving me like I don't know, like Loki energy where he's like, okay, they're gone. I'm king now. Like, yeah, he does that in the movie where he's like, this is mine now. Like, yeah, you'll listen to me.
I'll just fit right in right here.
Yeah.
I see this throne's not occupied at the moment.
Yes. Is this seat taken? No? Okay.
Quote, now dark levels all. Shall we mourn here, deedless forever? Or shall we return to our home? In Cuivienen, remember that's where the elves were when they first woke up. Sweet ran the waters under unclouded stars, and wide lands lay about where a free people might walk. There they lie still and await us who in our folly forsook them. Come away, let the cowards keep this city.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I have some issues with this. It doesn't exactly say, was Feanor born in Valinor? I don't exactly remember. Was he even in Cuivienen to remember any of this? Because it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, remember? Melkor was there.
Got kidnapped.
Yeah, people got kidnapped.
Tortured. And they got turned into nasty orcs.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of understand, his wanting a better place, but, he's just, painting this picture of this, picturesque, perfect home that has, that's way better than this place we're living in now. It. Yes. Thank you. Yes, exactly. So he urges the Noldor to leave quickly, further using Melkor's lies about the Valar. The Valar are holding them captive so that when the men come, they could rule Middle-earth instead of the elves.
Okay.
He likes using that logic of being held captive.
Uh-huh.
Which...
Because it's, a big deal back then. I feel like being held captive was a very big fear for some people.
Sure.
I apologize. Their yards must look beautiful outside.
But I mean, I just don't see how is living on Valinor so bad? It doesn't sound like it's safe. There's no bad guys. I mean, other than Melkor visiting. but like, it just doesn't sound all that hard. Like, there's things already set up. The food's there. The light was there, but you have the Valar there to protect you.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't sound like
it doesn't make
that
sense
miserable.
why you would leave.
Yeah. So, but we are clearly being held captive against our will. It is miserable here. I'm not living with the people that, you know, their brother killed my father. He freaking stole my shiny rocks. I am out of here. Quote,
This party's lame.
This party's lame. Quote, though long and hard shall be the road, say farewell to bondage, but say farewell also to ease. Say farewell to the weak. Say farewell to your treasures. More still shall we make. Journey light, but bring with you your swords. For we will go further than Arome, endure longer than Tolkas. We will never turn back from pursuit. After Morgoth to the ends of the earth.
Whoa.
Yes.
You know, that's a pretty hard sell to be like, let's leave this super great place, the super posh area where you're protected, you've got friends, it's all established. Don't bring anything you like with you, any comfort things. We're just going to go and trek and have it be really hard. But we get to go back to this special place that I've never been to before, I guess.
Yeah. And I don't know why this was the main thing that like kept in my brain was the pioneers.
Yeah, like people trekking across country or like...
For a romanticized idea, too. Like, it's going to be so great there. It'll be so much better than here. Will it, though?
Yeah.
Is it worth it, people?
Yeah.
Okay. So something happens here that will haunt. And I use the word haunt here on purpose because that is the best description I can come up with.
Okay.
The rest of the book. Feanor and all of his 7 sons swear a terrible oath.
Okay.
Quote, and red as blood shone their drawn swords in the glare of the torches. They swore an oath which none shall break, and none should take, by the name even of Iluvatar, calling the everlasting dark upon them if they kept it not. And Manwë they named in witness, and Varda and the hallowed mountain of Tanaquitl, vowing to pursue with vengeance and hatred to the ends of the world, Vala, demon, elf, or man as yet unborn, or any creature, great or small, good or evil, that time should bring forth unto the end of days, whoso should hold or take or keep a Silmaril from their possession.
Wow. So they would murder anybody?
If you got a Silmaril, that's mine.
Yeah.
You dead.
Dang.
So basically, they're vowing to hunt down and find the Silmarils and kill anything that would stop them. And if they didn't succeed, they would be lost to, quote, the everlasting dark, which I'm assuming is death or somehow worse than death.
Yeah, like purgatory or whatever.
Yeah. So
the void.
The void. So now, when Feanor and his sons swore this oath, everyone was straight up scared. Oaths are serious things and are not to be taken lightly.
It's like in Trolls. A pinky promise.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So you went there. I went Unbreakable Vow from Harry Potter.
Oh. I'm keeping it light. Dang. A pinky promise.
Quote, an oath may not be broken, and it shall pursue Oathkeeper and Oathbreaker to the world's end.
Yeah, that seems a little bit more Unbreakable Vow.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yes. And, you know, after they made this vow, Fingolfin and one of his sons had a thing or two to say on the matter. So much so that it almost came to swords again with Feanor. But then Finarfin, the other half-brother we don't hear from very often, and one of his sons try calming everyone down and basically try to remind the Noldor, like, hey, let's just stop and think for a second before we do something we can't take back. Like, just
before
take a minute.
Yeah. What is it? You can have it your way, but don't go crazy. It's like they definitely got their father's passion, I guess.
Yes.
Those boys.
Those boys. Oh, just you wait. So all of Feanor's sons totally in favor of leaving. However, Fingolfin and Finarfin's children were kind of divided. And in the book, it's very confusing. Like this son wants to leave because his best friend is his cousin who wants to leave. And this friend wants to leave doesn't want to leave because they all have these like ties, like cousin to cousin, friend to friend. And they just basically want to follow what they do, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay. But I wasn't about to try and say all the cousins' ties because it was very confusing. Let's just leave it at that. They were divided.
They have,
we're cousins. I get it. Most of the children of Fingolfin and Finarfin didn't really like Feanor, which I kind of get. Like, he just seems
a little intense.
Yes, he seems a little intense and just like trouble seems to follow him.
Yeah.
Whether or not like he starts it, it just seems to follow him. Although it seems like most of the time he's starting it. But
it's a weird uncle.
Yeah. Some, like Galadriel, wanted to see the rest of the world. And they just were kind of using Feanor's quest, I guess you could call it, as a ticket to go.
Get out. Yeah.
Yeah. Quote, so they're talking about Galadriel here. The only woman of the Noldor to stand that day, tall and valiant among the contending princes, was eager to be gone. No oaths she swore, but the words of Feanor concerning Middle-earth had kindled in her heart, for she yearned to see the wide, unguarded lands and to rule there a realm at her own will.
She's intense already.
Yeah. Another side of Galadriel that, like, you don't see from the Lord of the Rings movies. She seems so calm. But if you think about it, she does get intense. When it comes to the place of a dark lord, you shall have a queen.
Maybe she's just retired then, and so she's a little bit calmed down.
True. She's seen some stuff.
Yeah, she's like, ugh, don't even get me started.
So some of the sons of Finarfin and some of the sons of Fingolfin had formed close bonds, so much so that they were swayed to Feanor's side by those bonds alone. Like, they don't even like Feanor. They don't like really quite like understand his vendetta, but that's my cousin. We're bros, so
They see the passion. They see the passion.
Yeah. So even though Finarfin and those who followed Finarfin's mindset of, hey, let's take a minute, Feanor, they tried their best to convince the Noldor to, quote, heed and delay. Listen and just calm down a minute. Feanor wanted out of there. Instead, quote, nay, let us be gone. So Feanor wants to get going. Quote, yet all was done in overhaste. For Feanor drove them on, fearing lest in the cooling of their hearts his words should wane and other counsels yet prevail. And for all his proud words, he did not forget the power of the Valar.
In my brain, it's giving me like he's got other intentions, but he wants to like make it seem like he's a good guy. Like he's like, I'm one of you. But then he's going to do something selfish. That's just my thought. Like, let's go this way, but really this is just for me. I'm doing something just for me.
Well, I mean, he's using the leaving as, the Valar are, holding us captive here. they're in the dark here anyway. Like, it's not fun here anymore. It's not safe for you guys here. So why don't we leave? But really, I think he just wants to get his precious Silmarils back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, it's kind of a selfish thing he's doing, but he's like, let's go. Like, follow me.
Yeah. So, and he's actually he wants to leave in a hurry because he's worried that the Valar are actually going to try and stop them because they're being held captive, of course. But the Valar actually didn't do anything. They didn't want to help or stop them because they were kind of offended. You know, Feanor was saying all these things about them, and they didn't like to be thought of as bad guys with these evil intentions.
Yeah.
So Feanor is getting all the... That's not their plan. So Feanor is getting all the Noldor ready to head out. And immediately there is contention because, unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you name yourself the king of the Noldor actually have to agree with that fact as well. Because, like I said, since Feanor's banishment, Finwë, the original king of the Noldor, abdicated his throne. So Finwë are gone. The next in line was Fingolfin. So he actually had been king of the Noldor for a while, and the people actually liked Fingolfin. So they were kind of divided between Fingolfin, who had been leading them and doing a pretty good job, and Feanor, who just kind of technically was next in line, but also, like, who are you? Like, they don't know him as a king.
Yeah, he's been banished their whole time, right?
Yeah. Well, not the whole time.
Well, I mean, like, since they've been,
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
it doesn't say how long, but...
I haven't really known him.
Yeah, they're divided. So they make a compromise, and they decide to set out as two companies. Feanor and his following, of course, were leading the march because they are wanting to get the frick out of there. And then Fingolfin and his following, which actually was much larger, followed them. Now, Fingolfin wasn't thrilled to be going on this march. He was one of the ones who wanted to stay, take a breath, but Fingolfin's oldest son, Fingon, really wanted to go. Plus, he didn't really...
It's like Luke Skywalker. He wants to get off this rock.
Oh, kind of, yeah. Fingon has one of those ties to actually one of Feanor's sons. So he's like, he really wants to go and, you know, do this thing with his cousin. So he is like, I want to stay with my son. My son really wants to go. Plus, he didn't really want to leave his people in the hands of Feanor. You know, he loves his brother, but maybe he's like, seeing he's not the best leader. He puts himself before his people. Intense. He's a little intense. But he also remembered his oath he made to Feanor, where you lead, I will follow. So against his better judgment, he followed Feanor. I know.
That you tell me to. Sorry.
It's okay. I made that post. I thought it as well. So now Finarfin, the last brother, felt very much the same as Fingolfin, but he actually was the most hesitant to leave out of everyone. And it's just kind of like I was saying, like maybe he was more Vanyar at heart than Noldor.
Is this Galadriel's dad, I mean?
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I had to think about it. There's so many people.
Yes.
Only a few of the Noldor, quote, refused to take the road. Some for the love that they bore to the Valar, and to Aule, not least. Some for the love of Tyrion, and the many things that they had made. None for fear of peril, by the way. I just thought it was funny that, like, some wanted to stay, not out of fear. No. They wanted to stay because, you know, they had their nice things. Chicken. And, They ain't chicken. No. So they are about to finally leave, and a messenger comes from the Valar.
They brought bad news last time.
Quote, against the folly of Feanor shall be set my counsel only. Go not forth, for the hour is evil, and your road leads to sorrow that ye do not foresee. No aid will the Valar lend you in this quest, but neither will they hinder you. For this ye shall know, as ye came hither freely shall ye depart. But thou, Feanor, Finwë's son, by thine oath art exiled. The lies of Melkor thou shalt unlearn in bitterness. Vala he is, thou sayest. Then thou hast sworn in vain. For none of the Valar canst thou overcome now or ever within the halls of Ea. Not though Eru, whom thou namest, had made thee thrice greater than thou art.
But it's what I was thinking was, it's very much parent energy, where it was like, fine, if you want to go do that, just know that, like, I told you not to do it, but I'm not going to stop you. If you think you're smart enough and you think you're going to be okay, like, I'm giving you your free agency here, but I told you not to do it because it's really scary and dangerous and you can get hurt. But don't come crying back to me if, like, it didn't work out. And also, if you try to, like, I brought you into this world and I can take you out.
Yeah, basically. I actually, I could not stop thinking of, this can only end in tears. Yeah. Bartok reference.
Yes.
And he's like, but the Valar aren't going to hold you captive like Feanor says we will, because that is just one of the lies that Melkor told him that he needs to figure out the truth of on his own.
But they're giving them their agency to leave. Like, if you're going to go, you can go, but we told you not to do it.
Right. But I don't exactly understand why they need to exile him again. I mean, other than the oath being, like, so dramatic and dark, that's just, like, the only... But my favorite part about this statement from the messenger is that he's trying to explain to Feanor that Melkor is one of the Valar. And even if Iluvatar chose to make Feanor 3 times greater than he is now, he still couldn't defeat Melkor because Melkor is too powerful. You can't possibly beat him, Feanor, so give up this folly because it can't end well for anyone.
Yeah.
Valid point. But... You want to hear Feanor's response?
It's probably epic.
This is kind of where I want to punch him in the face. Quote, but Feanor laughed and spoke not to the herald, but to the Noldor, saying, so, then will this valiant people send forth the heir of their king alone into banishment with his sons only and return to their bondage? But if any will come with me, I say to them, Is sorrow foreboded to you? But in Aman we have seen it. In Aman we have come through bliss to woe. The other now we will try, through sorrow to find joy, or freedom at the least. Then turning to the herald, he cried, say this to Manwë, if Feanor cannot overthrow Morgoth, at least he delays not to assail him, and sits not idle in grief. It may be that Eru has set in me a fire greater than thou knowest. Such hurt at the least will I do to the foe of the Valar, that even the mighty in the ring of doom shall wonder to hear it. Yea, in the end they shall follow me. Farewell.
And the Oscar goes to Feanor for most dramatic, most best actor in a drama.
I mean, so basically he's saying here, like, life sucks here on Valinor right now, so we're gonna go ahead and try something different. And if that was his only reason for going, yes, I agree. The lights are out, things kind of suck right now. Maybe things were getting
the Wi-Fi's down.
Maybe things were getting crowded in Tirion. So far, only 2 elves have ever died, and they seem to be having more and more babies. So overpopulation might have been a concern. But then you throw in
out of high volume conditioner for all the beautiful hair. It was just They couldn't
But
handle it
then,
anymore.
but then you throw in this jab about the Valar not doing anything about Melkor, and that at least I'm doing something about it, and you don't know how strong I am. You don't know me, and it becomes more of a fool's errand, and it becomes more like a folly, like they say. Like it just, I could have been with you, Feanor, but you lost me.
Yeah. That
He
boy.
has so many yes, oh no.
You're like,
I want to
okay,
like him
yeah,
so
okay.
bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, dang
But
it. Oh, you were so close. So close.
so apparently this speech was so moving that the herald, he actually bowed to Feanor before leaving. Like he was so moved that he recognized his authority and bowed to him.
It's like, sorry to bother you. Go.
So now that the herald is gone, Feanor's company begins their march. And they are moving really fast. They are eager to get going, and they don't even take a chance to look back at their old home. Unfortunately, Fingolfin's company wasn't as eager, and Finarfin, the least eager of all, and they continually looked back to their home until it was beyond their vision.
Wow. That's a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Quote, more than any others of the exile, they carried thence memories of the bliss they had forsaken, and some even of the things that they had made there they took with them, a solace and a burden on the road.
Wow.
Again, thinking pioneers, because the ones that wanted to bring their pianos and
yeah,
that's not very practical for the journey, but I need it.
Yeah. My piano.
That'd be grandma.
Yeah.
Grandma Joe. Okay. So Feanor's plan is to head north. That's the way Melkor, escaped, but also the water to the north is narrower. The water that divides Aman from Middle Earth, it gets narrower to the north, which means less water to cross. However, as he's marching, he thinks more about it, and he comes across a problem. So he's got this large group of Noldor marching with him. They need to cross this body of water to get to Middle Earth. They don't have any ships.
Ooh.
They don't have any ships. They don't have the time or the skills really to build any. So kind of a small problem.
Yeah.
So he thinks about this for a while.
Those are a little important.
He thinks about this for a little while, and he comes with a plan. He's like, you know what? Hey, the Teleri, they have boats, and, maybe they could join us in our little rebellion we got going. We could use their boats. And then he kind of adds this spiteful little
Get you a guy who has a boat. They always say that.
It's like owning a boat and owning a truck. You don't tell people.
Yeah.
But then he also adds this spiteful little thought. Thus, the bliss of Valinor might be further diminished, and his power for war upon Morgoth be increased. So he basically wants to take the Teleri away from the Valar. Like they can't have nice
know what's
things
going on.
Right. And plus he's going to get more soldiers for his war against Melkor.
Yeah.
He's getting a bit more and more insane.
Getting a little crazy.
Yeah. So they move their march to Alqualande, the home of the Teleri. So they get there, and Feanor puts on his little speech-making skills. As he had spoken before in Tyrion, that went off so great. I'm going to try it again. And the Teleri actually don't buy it. They are sad that their Noldor friends are leaving, but they want nothing to do with this feud that Feanor has going on with the Valar. And they don't want to give their ships over or even help them make ships. They just don't want any part of it.
Valid.
But the Teleri were actually very happy where they were. They didn't really have any bit of the drama that was going on in Valinor. Remember, they kind of were off the grid. They didn't even go to the feast.
Are they the beach people?
They are the beach people.
Okay,
and,
yeah, no, that's totally the vibe, dude.
Right?
Like, they were
off
like,
the
nah,
grid.
dude, that's your own thing. We're just gonna chill.
They're very much
Wear my
surfers.
puka shell necklaces.
Yeah. They were by the ocean. They had their ships. They actually really liked their leader, Olwe. They completely trusted the Valar and had only had good dealings with them. Remember Olmo, the water god, for lack of a better term? Ose, the storm one, Unin, the sea creatures one. They actually spent a lot of time with the Teleri in the past and taught them lots of things. They're the ones that taught them how to build their ships. And so they had a really good rapport with them. And because also they were so isolated, they had no interactions with Melkor. So they didn't have any of his poisonous, vibes going. And they had complete
trust. It's kind of like a myth to them a little bit.
Yeah. And in fact, they were of the belief that the Valar would fix everything that Melkor had done, and quote, and that the night would pass yet to a new dawn. They just have complete faith in their government, for lack of a better term. They're going to fix everything. It's going to be fine. But totally. Do you think Feanor likes that response?
Yeah.
Not quite. Yeah. And he starts getting mad with Olwe, and he even starts guilt tripping them. Apparently, when the Teleri, on their little fairy island, when they made it to Eldamar, where the elves kind of were all living in Valinor, they were kind of homeless because they were the last ones to make it there. And it was the Noldor who built them their new home in Alqualande. The Noldor are kind of like the engineers, the smiths, So he throws it in Olwe's face, hey, we helped you when you needed it. You would still be homeless if it wasn't for us. But Olwe responds and basically we're grateful for all you did for us, but you're not the one who gave us our ships.
Yeah.
We're not just going to
They cannot hold that over them for the rest of their lives.
Right.
They cannot be like, we did this for you once.
Yeah.
Now you have to do everything else for us.
Right. Quote, we learned not that craft from the Noldor, but from the lords of the sea. And the white timbers we wrought with our own hands, and the white sails were woven by our wives and our daughters. Therefore, we will neither give them nor sell them for any league or friendship. These are to us as are the gems of the Noldor, the work of our hearts, whose like we shall not make again.
Valid. They have reason to not do that.
Yeah. But of course, Feanor doesn't like this response either, and he leaves and pouts in the dark for a while. Meanwhile,
he's not even the king over them. What does he think? Why is he yeah. But
I want it. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, the other Noldor in his company have caught up to them. And Feanor gets an idea. His numbers are stronger. He's got more people on his side. So he makes his move. He goes to the Haven of the Swans, where the ships were kept. Remember, the ships were all swans. And Feanor and his people, they just start taking over the ships. And if it comes to it, he takes them by force. Some of the Teleri resist and push the Noldor into the sea. And then things get serious and the swords come out.
No, not by the swans.
Mm-hmm. Quote, and a bitter fight was fought upon the ships. Thrice the people of Feanor were driven back, and many were slain upon either side.
Wow. That's stupid. He wanted them to come with him, and then suddenly he's killing them. Make up your mind, dude. Do you want a strong army, or do you want to murder them because they don't follow you? I don't get that.
So then this battle is taking place. The Teleri are trying to defend their ships. Feanor and his company are trying to take them. There's a massive battle happening. And then Fingolfin's company, because remember they were following behind, they come, see their kinsmen fighting the Teleri. They have no idea what's going on, how it started, but they see their kinsmen fighting and some dying, so they join in. In fact, some thought that the Teleri must have started the fight in an attempt to stop the Noldor by order of the Valar. Like, they just have no idea. They're like, what is happening? Oh, the Teleri must have started
it. Break it up. Wait, no.
Yeah. So with the forces of Feanor and Fingolfin's company combined, they defeat the Teleri. Thus, at last...
Oh.
Quote, thus at last the Teleri were overcome, and a great part of their mariners that dwelt in Alqualande were wickedly slain. For the Noldor were become fierce and desperate, and the Teleri had less strength, and were armed for the most part, but with slender bows. So they got swords against bows.
That's short range combat against long range combat. That's not really fair.
Exactly. So the Noldor escape with the stolen Teleri ships. Olwe, the leader of the Teleri, tries calling to his Mire friend, like, Osei, stop them! But Osei isn't allowed to help or hinder the Noldor by order of the Valar. However, Unen was just so sad to witness this tragedy. Quote, and the sea rose in wrath against the slayers so that many of the ships were wrecked and those in them drowned.
Yeah.
I love that Osei is known as this like rebel wild child. He loves storms. He was almost persuaded to the dark side by Melkor, but he obeys the Valar. But Unen, she has this like woman mother fury that comes over her that she just doesn't care about the Valar's rules. She is going to do what she wants.
She's very much turning into a mother bear right then. She's like, not my babies. Not my babies.
So this event would later be referred to as the kinslaying at Alqualande. And it was so sad that Maglor, one of the sons of Feanor, later wrote a song about it. It was one of those like epic moments.
Oh yeah, his greatest hits. He has a CD coming out.
Yes, he does.
So could Galadriel be one of the people who murdered other people?
Yep. It doesn't specify, but she could have.
She was there.
She was there,
and she's kind of a badass. So
yeah,
I feel like she would be like, battle? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah. So despite the battle, despite Unen's storm, most of the Noldor managed to escape, and they continued north. Some were in the ships, but some had to travel by land, unfortunately, because even though Feanor's plan was to steal these ships, there still weren't enough ships for all of the companies. Again, Feanor isn't very good at planning ahead. A little bit of foresight, dude.
Come on.
So they're traveling along when all of a sudden they see a dark figure standing on a rock high above them. And it doesn't specify who it was. Some say it was Mandos. Others say it was the herald from before. But whoever it was spoke with a loud and terrible voice and spoke to the Noldor of a curse/prophecy, which would be called...
Can it be like the guy from... Is it the guy from Princess Diaries? The like, when anybody comes into the room. You remember that scene?
Yes.
And he like yells it. Is it that? Is it that movie?
No. This is more like... freaking I just keep thinking of the third ghost from Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, the scurry one.
The scurry one. But this one actually talks, but it's like terrifying. And he speaks to the Noldor of a curse/prophecy, which would be later called the doom of the Noldor. And this curse would be on all the Noldor that would not
Do you think
stay
it's a good prophecy? Do you think it's a happy prophecy?
no.
Do you think it's like sunshiny and butterflies and bunnies, like happy things? Being called the Doom of Noldor? I mean, a little...
Well, Doom is an open concept for most of these books. The Ring of Doom, it's
the consequences of the Noldor.
Yeah. So this curse would be on all the Noldor that would not stay on Aman and not seek the forgiveness of the Valar. Are you ready to hear it?
Okay.
Quote, "Tears unnumbered ye shall shed, and the Valar will fence Valinor against you and shut you out, so that not even the echo of your lamentation shall pass over the mountains. On the house of Feanor, the wrath of the Valar lieth from the west unto the uttermost east, and upon all that will follow them it shall be laid also. Their oath shall drive them, and yet betray them, and ever snatch away the very treasures that they have sworn to pursue. To evil end shall all things turn that they begin will, and by treason of kin unto kin, and the fear of treason, shall this come to pass. The dispossessed shall they be forever. Ye have spilled the blood of your kindred unrighteously, and have stained the land of Aman. For blood ye shall render blood, and beyond Aman ye shall dwell in death's shadow. For though Eru appointed you to die not in Ea, and no sickness may assail you, yet slain ye may be, and slain ye shall be, by weapon, and by torment, and by grief. And your houseless spirits shall come then to Mandos. There long shall ye abide, and yearn for your bodies, and find little pity, though all whom ye have slain should entreat for you. And those that endure in Middle Earth, and come not to Mandos, shall grow weary of the world as with a great burden, and shall wane and become as shadows of regret before the younger race that cometh after. The Valar have spoken."
Wow.
Sorry, that was a really long quote, but...
No. That's like, you had to say the whole thing. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't cut that out.
Dang.
So basically, because they just killed their kin, the Teleri, they're all now royally screwed.
Yeah, that is, I mean, honestly, that's a very fitting consequence for how they've been acting. As a mother, I feel like that consequence fits the actions,
Yeah.
They're basically being told, because you did this, when you die, you'll be in like torment, kind of like what is it called? Purgatory.
Yeah.
Or if you don't die, you're basically going to be like
depressed.
And your younger kin, all the generations of elves to come after you are going to be like, ugh, who's that guy?
Yeah. And basically, you're going to die.
Don't think yourself invincible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Who do they think they are to be like, you created this world and you created us, but we're better than you now. We know more. We can defeat you and we're strong. It's like, I literally gave you everything you have. Like, it's so funny to me.
Are you ready to hear Feanor's response to this prophecy?
Oh, no.
So you think that this would scare most people straight? Like, because of what you did, you guys are doomed to die. But Feanor just got more angry. He is going to keep his oath no matter what. Basically, they can threaten us with whatever they want, but you know what they can't call us? Cowards. We will keep going.
Take my freedom.
Yes. We will keep going, and even if we are screwed, it will be epic. Quote, the deed
If I'm
that we
going
shall
down,
do.
I'm taking you all down with me.
There's a meme out there that is a Feanor that I will post after this episode, of course. But it's like, some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
What is that from?
It's Shrek.
Oh, yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
What is
Quote,
a sacrifice I'm willing to make?
Quote, the deed that we shall do shall be the matter of song until the last days of Arda.
Wow.
Not worth it. He just wants to be so epic.
He's stubborn. That is
So stubborn.
Stubbornness right there.
No guts, no glory should be another one of Feanor's mottos.
What is that from Wreck-It Ralph? No
Butts,
guts,
no guts.
butts, no coconuts.
No cuts, no butts.
Okay.
A little different. But
I was close.
there was one person who the prophecy scared the crap out of. And that was Finarfin. You know, he was on the fence the whole time. And he was like, yep, see, told you guys that this march was a bad idea from the beginning.
Yeah, he's that like person in the group that's like, guys, I really don't think we should be doing this. I don't want to do this. Oh my gosh. And he like goes along with it. And then at the end, he's like, I knew it. We're screwed. Yeah. We're going to die.
Mm-hmm. And you know, he's actually really pissed with Feanor for getting him into the battle without knowing the cause. So Finarfin and his company went back to Valinor, where they were forgiven by the Valar, and Finarfin ruled what was left of the remaining Noldor and Tirion.
Is that Galadriel's dad?
Yes.
So did she go with him?
No. So Finarfin's sons, and it only specifies sons, but it also Galadriel, they stayed. They didn't want to abandon their cousins, their bros.
Are their cousins really that cool? Or they just like...
Yeah. So there's a bit of that, but they also felt obligated to Feanor. Plus, I would be kind of scared to leave at this point of Feanor. Plus, they were scared to face the Valar. And because, I mean, not all of them knew what was actually happening at Alqualondé. Some did know and still joined the fight. Yeah. Plus, some of the sons were, quote, bold and fiery of heart and just didn't want to give up on a task they had set their mind to.
Also stubborn.
Quote, so the main host held on, and swiftly the evil that was foretold began its work. So
it's crazy that like little whisperings of things ripple out and cause such huge problems.
Mm-hmm. So here's where Feanor meets, yet again, another problem that maybe with a bit of planning could have been avoided.
Yeah, so he needs to be better at planning here.
Yeah, so
a lot of things could have happened differently.
With all of their marching and sailing, they had made it so far north that they, quote, saw the first teeth of the ice that floated in the sea. I just love that description. So they knew they were getting close to the Helcarax. Quote, and there were vast fogs and mists of deathly cold, and the sea streams were filled with clashing hills of ice and the grinding of ice deep sunken. Such was the Helcarax, and there none yet had dared to tread, save the Valar only and Ungoliant. So the problem
here, so pleasant to be there.
So pleasant. So the problem is, so that there's only two ways to get to Middle Earth. Either across the Helcarax, which sounds so lovely and such a pleasant journey, or across the sea. The Helcarax is way too dangerous to cross, especially with such a large group of people. But he doesn't have enough ships to take everyone across the sea either. They didn't have enough to begin with, but after Unan's storm of vengeance, more ships were lost then too. They could take turns and ferry people across, but no one was willing to wait while the others were ferried across because things were already getting a little tense and suspicious, and treachery was on everyone's minds.
Yeah.
So they are camped by this freezing cold wasteland, freezing cold ocean, trying to figure out what to do. The Noldor are getting restless. They start arguing. Some are cursing Feanor, blaming him for everything, and some are regretting their choice to come in the first place.
Yeah. I feel that.
I feel it. So Feanor hears all this murmuring, and he decides on a new plan. Feanor, his sons, and a very small group of loyal followers take all of the ships and quickly make a break for it. They leave Fingolfin and everyone else behind on Aman.
Oh my gosh. He
Just you wait. Wait for it. So they make it across the sea to Middle-earth. They get off the boats, they tie everything up, and Maedhros, who was Feanor's oldest son, he was best friends with Fingolfin's son Fingon, asks his dad Feanor, quote, "Now, what ships and rowers will you spare to return, and whom shall they bear hither first? Fingon the Valiant?" Then Feanor laughed as one Fey. And we've talked about this word Fey before, but just as a reminder, Fey, F-E-Y, basically like, then Feanor laughed as one out of his mind. And he cried.
He's losing it. He's losing it.
So then Feanor laughed as one out of his mind, and he cried, "None and none. What I have left behind, I count now no loss. Needless baggage on the road, it has proved. Let those that cursed my name curse me still, and wind their way back to the cages of the Valar. Let the ships burn."
Dang! Oh my gosh.
Then Maedhros alone stood aside, but Feanor caused fire to be set to the white ships of the Teleri. So in that place ended the fairest vessels that ever sailed the sea, and a great burning, bright and terrible. And Fingolfin and his people saw the light afar off, red beneath the clouds, and they knew that they were betrayed. This was the first fruits of the kinslaying and the doom of the Noldor.
Dang. Man, and I thought I liked Feanor in the beginning, but nope, that guy's whack. He is like obsession levels crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Yikes. Dude, that's so sad. Those poor other...
So Fingolfin, he sees the ships burning, and he is faced with the sad fact that Feanor has abandoned him and left him to either die there in the cold or to return humiliated to the Valar. And he is just pissed and filled with resolve. He is going to get to Middle-earth in whatever way he can and see Feanor again. It doesn't say if he's going to kill him or hug him when he sees him, but he's going to get to him. So Feanor takes the only route left to him. He takes his company across the terrifying and ice cold of the Helcarax.
Dang.
Quote, "And he and his host wandered long in misery, but their valor and endurance grew with hardship, for they were a mighty people. The fire of their hearts was young, and led by Fingolfin and his sons, and by Finrod and Galadriel, which were Finarfin's children, they dared to pass into the bitterest north, and finding no other way, they endured at last the terror of the Helcarax and the cruel hills of ice. Few of the deeds of the Noldor thereafter surpassed that desperate crossing in hardihood or woe."
Wow. That's vengeance for you, man.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually where I'm going to leave you today.
That happy
note.
I know. just full of kinship and friendship and love and family and just happiness. All of this story has it all.
Mm-hmm. So you can kind of see now. Sorry, I'm going to talk spoilers here for a minute. So if you haven't seen the show yet, turn this off. But so you can see why I was kind of freaking out to Albert in that episode. I was like, I don't like this scene because it shows all of these ships heading towards Middle Earth. And I'm like, no, that's not how it happened. Like, yeah, we all went together. Like, no, that's not what happened. And
they had like 4 ships tops.
Yeah. And then in the previews, I thought for the longest time in the trailer, when we see Galadriel stabbing, hanging from that ice glacier with her dagger, I thought for the longest time that was her crossing the Hellcrux. But it turns out it wasn't. But to have seen that scene would have been really cool.
Yeah. Like a history backflash.
Yeah.
Thing.
They just skip over that part.
Flashback. I mean, I said backflash. Flashback.
I knew what you meant.
Well, thanks for teaching me today.
You're welcome.
That family can be awful sometimes. No. That
But you wonder why Galadriel is so bad, eh? That's why.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, like we said before in the beginning of this episode, go check out our friend Albert's podcast as well. His podcast is, for Lord of the Rings, but he has a lot of different ones. But his podcast is Ashley.
LOTR podcast. And he is like on everything, but he also has YouTube if you're more of the video podcast type.
Yeah.
But yeah, please check him out. He is amazing and awesome and
very nice.
Dearly. Please also rate and review our stuff.
We've been having a lot of new listeners from around the world.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
We got Japan and Colombia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My mother country.
So please rate, review, tell your friends, and follow us on Instagram at Sisters of the Shire Podcast.
Hey.
Comment, send us messages. We try and respond to everything.
Yeah. And thanks for joining us today. It's been fun.
So much fun.
I hope you're enjoying the story so far. And I hope that this is also helping you understand the show if you are watching the show on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
So I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it so far. I just gotta say my review. I know people are like, that's not right, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy it. It's beautiful. And I love it. So
here.
And the little hobbit people are too adorable.
Too adorable. Someone needs to figure out where that first hobbit is. That first hobbit that is shown with like the thing on his head. What other thing is he in? I can't find him because he's not, I don't think he's even listed. But what other show movie is he in? I know he's in something. Please
help
message us on our Instagram. You're our only hope. All right. Well, till next week, I've been Ashley.
And I'm Abby. Thank you for joining us today. We've been the Sisters of the Shire podcast, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye.
Bye.